higher. So the fact that Iran was able to actually target and hit one of these is significant. Now, we know that one of the individuals, the airmen on board the F-15, was rescued by the U.S. military, but there is an extensive and urgent search underway by the U.S. to find that second airman who went down in this Strike Eagle. This is the first time that we are aware of, anyway, that a U.S. military aircraft has been struck and downed inside Iran during this war, but it's actually the fourth F-15 that's been brought down during this war. The first three, of course, were taken down by the Kuwaiti military in an act of friendly fire, guys.
Courtney, thank you. Monica, let's bring you in now. How is the White House responding to this incident? It wasn't that long ago we heard from the president in terms of his thinking with the war's timeline. How might this impact when or if we send in ground troops?
Yeah, I think those are the absolutely most valid questions right now, Zing, Clay, and Kate. And the answer is we simply do not know. It was just Wednesday evening, hours ago, that the president was making the argument that he believed, because of the military objectives that he estimated had been met, that the U.S. could be nearing completion of this conflict. But he did also warn that the next 2 or 3 weeks could bring some of the heaviest fire that the U.S. would launch against Iran, saying, as you mentioned, that they would be sent back, quote, to the Stone Ages. In those same remarks, the president did make the argument, which he has for weeks, that he assessed that Iran had no, quote, anti-aircraft equipment, that their radar was, quote, 100% annihilated, and that the U.S. was unstoppable as a military force. So today's event certainly raised some questions about what may have happened here, what the U.S. has actually been able to learn and glean versus what the president and the Defense Department have been saying very publicly. But in terms of speaking publicly, this is a day where the president doesn't have anything currently open on his public schedule. We know that that can change at a moment's notice, but for now, we believe he has been monitoring the situation pretty consistently, being briefed on it, we're told, by the White House press secretary throughout the morning and afternoon, by his top aides and national security advisors. But we don't have an official White House statement or comment beyond that, given that this does appear to still be an active situation. Guys.
Courtney, let me go back to you. Can you talk about what these military pilots are trained to do under these kinds of circumstances if they're hit by fire?
Yeah, so they will eject from the aircraft. Hopefully there will be time. I can tell you, in an F-15, there's a lever that's down on the left side of you. As soon as the aircraft is up in the air, before the aircraft even goes in the air, they activate that lever so that you can at any time pull it, and it will the canopy will pop off and you will eject out of the aircraft. Both seats have the ability. Generally, the back seater will eject first, and then the front seater. But that doesn't, in the time of combat, it's hard to say. What they are trained to do is survive the fall, for starters, and then they are told to hide. If they are behind enemy lines, the key is try to hide and then try to find some way. There are ways that they can communicate back with the combat, the Air Operations Center, or with a tower, or wherever, depending on where they are. They can communicate their location. The one saving grace throughout all of this is when forward something like this, there are always search and rescue teams that are there on the ready, and those pilots will know when they land that there is someone who's going to be looking for them very quickly.
All right, Courtney Cuby and Monica Alba, thank you both.
A new chapter is beginning at the Justice Department one day after President Donald Trump fired Attorney General Pam Bondi.
Deputy AG Todd Blanche has been tapped to serve as acting Attorney General. Like Bondi, Blanche has also previously served as a personal lawyer for President Trump before working for the government. Blanche was heavily involved in the DOJ's release of the Epstein files, and he's now saying the department should move on.
I think that to the extent that the Epstein files was a part of the past year of this Justice Department, it should not be a part of anything going forward.
Let's bring in NBC News Chief Justice and National Affairs Correspondent Kelly O'Donnell. So, Kelly, we heard his positioning there, but the Epstein survivors have put out some different messaging in a statement last night after Bondi's firing. They're calling for more transparency. Talk to us about that and where the congressional investigation stands.
The acting attorney general's view about a time to turn the page on the Epstein files doesn't really take into account that there was a law requiring full disclosure, and there are critics who say the Department of Justice has only provided partial disclosure of the documents in its files, and there is political pressure from parts of the MAGA community, from bipartisan lawmakers, and as you point out, from the Epstein survivor community and those who advocate for them. And so they're saying that there is a need for further transparency. They want to have an accounting for past mistakes. They want to see that kind of accountability. So they did put out a statement that reflects that view. And that will continue to be possible. There you see the statement that really gives a sense of the fact that they want to keep the pressure up. And they believe they can do that, in part because of the law that was passed by Congress, signed by the president, of course, and also the public sense that there is more to be learned and more accountability. We've seen a lot of accountability when it comes to the non-criminal realm, where there are reputational impacts that have caused people to lose their jobs, positions, or reputation. And with this change at the Department of Justice, there will still be all of those pressures. And the Epstein community of survivors is not going anywhere, they say.
And Kelly, Bondi's firing comes about a month after President Trump fired Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Noem is staying in the government, but Bondi says, or at least the White House put out a statement, or the president put out something saying that she's moving to the private sector. Do we have any details about that?
Well, Noem was sent to the State Department for an envoy role. We'll see how long that goes forward. She did move to that position. For Bondi, the president said that there is an important private sector opportunity that she is going to take, and then she called herself thrilled about that. We have no specific details about what that would mean or how it would work with, as she said, continuing to fight for President Trump. Is it affiliated with him politically in some way? We don't yet know. Of course, Florida is her home. Perhaps she'll be heading back there. She's going to stay at the Department of Justice for a bit of a transition period over the next few weeks.
All right, Kelly O'Donnell for us. Kelly, thanks.
Now to developments in the legal battle between actress Blake Lively and her It Ends With Us director and co-star Justin Baldoni.
A federal judge has dismissed most of the claims in Lively's sexual harassment lawsuit against